Okay. We should have went live on this. Whatever.
Thou shalt not.
Thou shalt not go live. Okay. No yawning, right?
No yawning. Yeah, I think I'll be good.
Or
I had some coffee.
That yawn laugh thing you did.
It was, dude. It was really scary, huh?
Frightening.
Well, what's even scary is this whole part of my. I told you this before, I think, but this whole part of my face is totally numb.
Right.
Because they ripped me out of my mom with pliers.
It's amazing.
Because I was stuck, I guess, and turned.
You got a big noggin though.
So all of this is like numb. I can't feel anything.
Yeah.
You could poke a pin through it.
I just hit you right in the face.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, and so when I cry, like if I cry really hard, I go like this.
That's so
it's like
interesting.
nerve damage.
Scary.
Yeah, so it's not. It's kind of scary looking. Yeah.
Yeah. Did the doctor apologize?
No, this is 1973, bro. He was smoking a cigarette while he was
Yank
delivering
the baby. He's using one hand with the clamps to pull you out.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I got a brandy to go drink in my office. Let's get this kid out.
Oh my gosh.
So funny the difference.
Things have changed.
I was watching Mad Men, that show, from the 60s and advertising
Don Draper,
and all that.
right?
Yeah, Don Draper. And they went on a picnic, and then they just left all the trash at the park.
I can't.
There's buffaloes. Look at all this meat. Perfect. Let's just shoot them for fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's get on the train. Just blast them.
Yeah, it's unlimited.
Piles of buffalo
Resources
skull.
everywhere.
Oh, wait a minute. There's no buffalo left. What happened? Oh, yeah. Well,
we can actually do something, some severe damage.
Interesting.
Speaking of that, I want to use an analogy, and I think this would be a great. This would be you're gonna love this. Did you ever watch Inspector Gadget? Yeah, Inspector Gadget. Did you ever see the cartoons when you were little, or
of course
watch the? So what was Inspector Gadget? He was always this fumbling or bumbling idiot.
He was clumsy. He reminds me of like the Pink Panther almost.
Yeah, and he would create all this new technology.
Mm-hmm. That was faulty.
That was faulty. And then he would turn around and he was thinking constantly that he was saving the world.
Yeah.
Aubrey Marcus was talking about this the other day. So this is not I got this from him.
This is not original thought.
This is not original thought. Yeah, I always like to give credit where. But he was talking about this. He got some of the story wrong with it. But behind the scenes, there was Penny.
Mm-hmm.
And so Penny was the one that made sure everything kind of got situated and figured out, and then Inspector Gadget always thought he was solving the crimes.
No.
But it was actually her.
Yeah, it's Penny.
And it's so funny because when we look at technology today and we look at us as humans,
yeah,
it's kind of like we're fumbling through like Inspector Gadget.
We are
creating all this technology, thinking that we're solving things. When in reality, we're not. Creation in and of itself.
We've actually made
everything. The planet is.
Yeah, we've made everything more complex. The only thing that's really creating something is nature itself, right?
Yeah.
We're just trying to find tools that align with it.
Yeah, Penny is nature.
We're not building tools that align with nature.
Right.
We're building things that we think can sit outside of it.
Yeah, and we look at, on our big 7, number 4 is global peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to take this into personal responsibility. I want to picture us fumbling through like idiots, like Inspector Gadget, and then, did you just yawn?
Yeah, I did.
It's contagious.
Brutal.
When we look at peace on earth, goodwill towards men, you're laughing about that, huh? We'll be yawning back and forth. It'll be funny. We have a really good guest coming on the next episode, so we got to make sure that.
Yeah, we got to get ourselves jacked up. We got to do some like push-ups or something.
Yeah, we got to get the blood flowing. But peace on earth, global peace, and we look at us as humans and the daily actions that we do.
Correct.
Maybe we go on YouTube and we make a comment that is disruptive and mean.
Oh, you talking about that guy that came on our live stream?
Yeah, no, not just that, but maybe we're in traffic and we yell at somebody and we're verbally violent.
Even though they can't hear us.
Yeah, even though they can't.
Just screaming in my little
But
shell.
these daily actions that we do every day against peace.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this little hypothetical viewpoint of like in a macro, oh yeah, we can, we're going to have peace. We're going to have global peace. And it's like, no, you're not acting that way.
No.
It has to be done not fumbling through like Inspector Gadget, but it has to be done with self-awareness and thought.
Yeah. And you have to be responsible about the actions.
Yeah.
You can't say, global peace is going to happen and then expect the politician to do it for you. Doesn't work like that.
Or technology to do it for us.
Technology does not create global peace.
No.
understanding between human and other human creates global peace.
Yeah, and we always, since the 1800s when we started getting really humans and technology began. You mentioned the plow earlier or whatever, but when we started creating technology,
right,
we always have this utopian view of that this thing is going to save us.
That doesn't save squat.
No. How many utopian failures have we had?
Tons. Well, you and I have talked about this in the past. How many people have come up with these ideas of utopias and they failed? Mm-hmm. Utopia is not the physical aspect of things. It's the non-physical. It's our understanding of one another. It's not a technology that creates a utopia. Even if you had, say, for instance, we were no longer relying on fossil fuels. Everybody had their own, essentially very safely operating nuclear generator at their house, an unlimited amount of energy. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what if we all start just making weapons with our unlimited amount of energy? We just destroy ourselves.
Yeah, and
we can do
it in 5 minutes.
Even though it's fantastic, we've used it for a bad thing because we still lack understanding on a human-to-human level.
And in that understanding is going to nature. We can see it all around.
Don't yawn.
Yeah, we can see it all around. And there's order, intelligence, and design.
Absolutely.
And so when we look to that, and we have our technology, and we're going to be talking to Suzanne Simmer here on the next podcast, Finding the Mother Tree, Discovering the Wisdom of the Forest.
Yes.
And so I encourage, this is right along with what we're talking about. When we look to that order, when we look to that intelligence, when we look to that, design, now we can begin to take our technology and co-create.
Yes, because nature is always creating. Mm-hmm. We join with it symbiotically, like all other plant species, organisms, microorganisms do. They symbiotically work together to create this ecosystem. So how do we use our technology and our actions as human beings to collectively come together with nature and co-create with it, not create around it? And create a world
or against it,
some artificial world that we think we can control. Humans forget all the time that they are a part of nature. Mm-hmm. So when you choose to create things that try and fight it or stop it or hinder its flow, you're hurting yourself just as much as you're hurting it.
Yeah, and we understand with all technology, there's data that is created.
Yeah. Well,
so whenever we have...
What about a tree?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
It's collecting data.
Well, and it's also producing data. What's the data it's producing? I cut that tree in half. What does it have? Rings. Mm-hmm. The measurement of those rings tell me how much water it received in a certain amount of time and how old that tree is dependent on that year. Are you kidding? That's data right there alone. All of these things are producing.
I mean, it's transmuting data to the root systems. It's transmuting data to, if it's a Finding the Mother Tree book, she talks about this, where it's the mother tree and then it's relying on that collective survival of the rest of the forest.
Right.
And it's nurturing.
It uses electrical signals.
And it knows, with the electricity, it knows, to send a certain amount of nutrients. It knows if it's one area. And they're communicating back and forth based off of carbon. And I mean, it's pretty amazing the intelligence that we have when we look to nature.
Right.
And it doesn't matter. Like somebody may think of this podcast and be like, well, this sounds spiritual or nothing. It has nothing to do with that.
I'm just telling you what's actually happening in nature.
It's our planet.
Yeah.
It's our planet, and there is elements in our planet that give us the ability, if we harness them properly,
right,
to be able to have climate disability, to be able to have global peace, to be able to have educational access.
And if we learn to understand our environment, understands ourselves and other selves, we can co-create together rather than create in individual directions that create disparities, create cultural gaps.
Because here's the problem that I think we're facing. It's we think more tech is going to make us more happy.
It does.
GDP's doubled. Mental health.
It's gone down.
Yeah.
Suicide rates gone up.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? I thought we're having this economic boom. Things are fantastic. They're not.
No.
There's no
promise to happiness through tech.
Or these material things. Understanding is what creates the promise.
Right.
And nature gives us data all the time. It's creating, giving data. We are generating data. We just need to have a better way to understand it amongst ourselves. Technology right now is being created for technology's sake.
Yes.
It's not in the simplicity of
co-creating.
Of co-creating and understanding human to human impact. in relationships.
God, you're getting me jacked up now. I'm not going to.
Are you feeling this though?
Yeah, no. Yeah, because I'm understanding the story. Because here's a story here of us co-creating.
Yeah.
And us looking at nature and saying, take all the bias out and just look at it in its clear form. That's what she did. Suzanne simmered. She looked at the forest and said, yeah, there's monocropping going on. There's pesticides going on. Let's look at the data and let's see. And then let's look collectively in relationship to the forest and us as humans.
Yeah.
Because it's all one system. And let's see how I can learn from it and how it can teach me.
Correct.
And then from there, let's create technologies that are symbiotic for both.
Thank you.
That's co-creating.
Yeah. You engineer solutions that work with nature, right? She put her ego back for a second and really observed the data that was in front of her. And she said, something is wrong. Something with the way we are acting fundamentally with our philosophies of forestry is wrong. And all these things which she talks about also carries over to everything else we have been doing. She figured it out with trees in British Columbia.
Yes.
But this is a metaphor that is applicable to everything we do.
Well, it's when we look at COVID and the situation there, and Aubrey Marcus brought this up and I thought it was really cool. He said, what if I could come to you and say you can live 5 more years, but you can never hug anyone. You could never go to a concert. You can't go to Burning Man. You can't do any of these things. Yeah. He goes, what would be that year? Would you say you could live 40 more years?
I don't want it.
So when we look at the technology that we use, especially with COVID, and then we forget the simplicity of what a hug can do for us.
Yeah. The oxytocin release that goes in your body.
The biochemical part. Yes.
The biochemical, what happens through your neurons are friggin' firing in the brain at that moment. Dilation of the pupils, right? Slight perspiration. All of these things are occurring through this idea of contact. But isolation destroys our natural aspects. If you isolate a tree somewhere by itself, it'll probably die. The likelihood of survival is much less.
Right.
But a forest brought together in the individual identities of every single one of those trees, like every single individual human being, characteristically different,
right,
but collectively the same.
So instead of looking at it and say, how can we co-create with this virus? How can we, because the virus doesn't have any emotion or feeling or anything.
Care.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can we co-create? How can we use the technology that we have to be able to do these things? Instead, we want to argue over where you should wear a mask or not, or whether you should get the vaccine or not, or, it's so silly. And we've become a prisoner to this. And you can see, 70% of the population has autoimmune issues?
Yeah.
Obesity, mental illness. Think of this. We have something greater than a virus that's happening to us.
No, I know that. And we're not listening to ourselves. We're ignoring the data that's right in front of us.
Yes.
But all these people have smartphones. They're all investing in more technology, but the quality of their life is not increasing. Because the technology was not fundamentally designed to help them make better decisions as human beings.
Yeah, there's a story in the Bible, because I want to kind of get into myths and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting. You're bringing up some religious stuff here.
Yeah,
on
now
TARTLE.
I am.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, but this is an interesting story. Whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. It's one of our. There's the Tower of Babel. Yeah, so the Tower of Babel was the story is this, that there was a group of people, and they were building. They wanted to build a tower, that would go past the sky, so they could reach to God.
This is fun.
Yeah, no. This is, and so God turned around and said, no, you can't do this. So, and confused them. They had got all different languages.
We can't engineer this because we're all speaking different things. We don't understand one another.
But I think the significance of the story is what we're trying to do now.
Tell me. Oh,
we're taking this. Yeah, we're taking this technology and trying to reach to something. Whether we try to go to Mars or whether we're ignoring what is happening around us.
At the base?
Yes. Do you see what I'm saying?
First of all, I built the tower on sand.
Yes.
Second of all, none of us understand one another, so our engineering is all completely different, right?
Yeah, but it's this idea of thinking that we can become something more than that we are as a collective. Us as humans working together, we do amazing things. I mean, some of the wonders of the world is us. It's like the Great Wall of China was built, and then amazing feat, absolutely amazing. And the Mongolians were like, we can just break one part of it and come in and we'll just take over your whole.
I'm glad it's like super huge and long.
It wasn't anti-fragile.
No, not at all. It boils down to something. And technology should be used for this. You need to know yourself.
Yes.
You need to accept yourself. And then we can all learn to co-create together. Okay? But that knowing and accepting happens from an observation that doesn't have bias to it.
Yes.
It's an observation where it says, what are the parts of me that are so co-similar with many other things that are actually happening, right? What are my thoughts that are similar with myself and other selves, or even nature, how that acts? And if we can look at that and have technology remind us through our data, through this log of thoughts, behaviors, and actions, we can refine our choices to better understanding. We can maybe eventually build that tower that was talked about in old scriptures. We could get to those points, but we continue to take technology to either leave this world, right, or to kill an individual faster with missiles, right, whatever that might be. But that is technology for technology's sake, and it lacks understanding of each other.
Yes.
We've had great advances in technology, but why has there not been a correlation of war and death going down? Why has human happiness not gone up? Right? Why has all these prevalent diseases increased? Is because we still lack understanding. The technology hasn't been designed to understand one another.
So let's get into TARTLE. The reason I went into this crazy philosophical was to get into TARTLE's marketplace.
Yeah.
So when we look at TARTLE, and as we're beginning to go to that first party data and talk directly to the individual, and not just the individual, but collectively, groups.
You do people. A collective of individuals.
Yes, right. Yes. And with the first party data, I think people need to understand the importance of the marketplace in the sense of the data being right, the data being truthful, and the power of 7.5 billion people on a marketplace creating data 24/7.
If you go into the woods and you listen, you hear the wind moving through the leaves. You hear the animals going back and forth. You put your ear to the ground, the worms are moving. There's this constant movement of this coalition of organisms, individuals, working together. They are doing nothing but being themselves in the perspective of their life and what they do and what their job might be. TARTLE is analogous to what is going on in the forest. It's many people of many characteristics, different shapes and sizes and thoughts.
Well, it's Penny.
Yeah, it's Penny.
And Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget. Coming together,
right,
sharing their perspective of what the reality is, so that when we look at it as a collective, we can see where there might be weaknesses in our whole group, where we can help one another. Send nutrients of the forest, right? Or nutrients of data and understanding or resources to those who need it.
Yeah, TARTLE co-creates.
TARTLE is that co-creative aspect of humanity. And it's not the technology that solves it. We created a tool, and we're handing it over to the world, to humanity, to say, do you want to take the responsibility to understand one another? It's right here for you.
So if I wanted to take the responsibility, and I'm like, yeah, I get this. I understand this. Literally, how long does it take me to sign up on
Under
TARTLE?
a minute.
Under a minute.
Yeah, about as fast as I respond to you.
So I just go to tartle.co
and
sign up, and I can start giving towards causes that I care about. I can keep the money if I need it.
I can safely store information about myself, and I can.
And what if I'm General Electric and I want to check on my aircraft engine plant, and I want to talk to employees? How could I be a buyer of data?
No problem. You're going to sign up in under a minute, and then you're going to ask your employees to sign up and say, I would like you all to fill out this data packet. I'm really worried about your name. You can be as anonymous as you like. And we want to collect this information so we can better understand you and your needs and your wants.
Could I, as General Electric, let's say I have a not-for-profit.
Yep.
And I want to not pay my employees, but I want them to donate to this nonprofit if they fill this data packet out.
No problem.
So I can do that?
Yeah, you could pay them for the data, and then they can come back in turn and donate those earnings right towards that not-for-profit. That's a pretty nice full circle cycle symbiotic relationship of, mutual dependence on one another for the betterment of all. Isn't it?
Yeah, no, I think it's, because what's the data worth to you as a corporation?
Yeah.
And then what is it worth to understand the sovereignty of the individual when you're asking something, to respect that as an employer?
It's wonderfully valuable. The best asset humanity will ever have is our understanding of one another. It will exceed gold, any cryptocurrency, any type of car or territory. Our understanding of one another will be humanity's greatest asset that preserves our longevity into the future.
And that is data.
And that will be that data of understanding.
Through TARTLE.
Through TARTLE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's co-create.
Together.